So this week, guys, we have another easy recipe for you. We're making a braised chicken dish called chicken paprikash. Now, the first time I ever made this recipe was probably around 10 to 15 years ago. If you have picky eaters in the family, I pretty much am sure they're gonna probably eat this. I mean, there's nothing to really not like about this dish. But anyways, guys, I'm not gonna overtalk it. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and without further ado, let's jump into cooking. Okay, so chicken paprikash. Now, the first time I ever made this recipe was probably around 15 years ago. I worked with an older Hungarian gentleman, and this is the way he said his family has made this for years. So I'm gonna try to honor that recipe. It's gonna be kind of close, but there's gonna be a few things that are a little bit different. For instance, I really like the parsley with the paprika. If you just smell both of them together, they just go together. I don't think he used parsley in his chicken paprikash, but I'm definitely gonna use a little bit today. So here are the ingredients you're gonna need. You need a large pot to start off. This is a saute pan, probably around a 16-inch. We have 4 chicken quarters. Now you can cut these into like have the drums and also the thighs, but I'm just gonna keep them whole today. We have an onion. Now, one of the things the gentleman told me was that it's gotta be a Vidalia onion. And then we have a little bit of flour to thicken our sauce, garlic, tomato paste, a crap ton of paprika. It's very important to use sweet paprika with this recipe. Don't use smoked paprika or anything like that. We have a little bit of butter here, sour cream. So right here we actually have some spätzle. Now this is a German dumpling. Now in Europe, all the countries are kind of together. So I know this is a Hungarian dish, but they do use a German dumpling traditionally. You can also use an egg noodle if you can't find this. If you go to the grocery store, this is usually in the section that has the bacon and like the sausage. I don't know why they keep it there, but they keep it chilled. So if you can't find it, it's over in that section. And obviously a little bit of salt and pepper and oil to get this started. Very simple. We don't do anything really complicated on this channel. We're gonna start off by going ahead and searing our chicken. Okay, so I have the large skillet heating up on a medium heat. The first thing we have to do is season our chicken. We're gonna hit this generously with some salt. I'm using kosher salt for this chicken. Also, we're gonna hit it with some black pepper. This is coarse ground black pepper. I think it's 18 mesh. We're gonna add about a tablespoon of a neutral oil to the pan. I'm using avocado oil today. Then we're gonna go ahead and just drop in our chicken. And like always, you wanna make sure you gently press down on the chicken so it makes good contact with the pan and you get that good sear. We're gonna season the other side with salt and black pepper just like we did the first side. Now this is gonna take a while. I want that skin to get nice and brown and a little bit crispy, so it's probably gonna take around 7 minutes. I'll be back with you guys in a few minutes once our chicken's nice and brown. Okay, so it's been a few minutes. We're gonna go ahead and give our chicken a flip. And as you can see, our skin is nice and brown. Now we're gonna let it go on this side for probably only about 3 minutes. It doesn't have to go as long as the skin side. I'm just trying to render some of the fat from the skin, create that nice fond on the bottom of the pot, because that's gonna add additional flavor to this chicken paprikash. So we're gonna let this go for 3 minutes, and then we're gonna remove it, and we'll start doing the rest of the ingredients. So now I got that nice fat in here. We got a little bit of fond, as you can see. We're gonna add a little bit of butter. That's about 2 to 3 tablespoons of butter. And I got my pan on a medium-low at this point. We don't need the heat to be as high as when we were searing the chicken, because we're just gonna be sauteing some onions, sweating down a few things. Now once that butter is melted, we're gonna add in our onion, season with a little bit of salt, then black pepper. Now I am looking for these onions to be slightly caramelized, so I do want to have a little bit of color on these onions. So we're gonna let these continue to caramelize and sweat down. It's probably gonna take around another 5 or 10 minutes or so, so I'll be back with you in a couple of minutes. So as you can see here, our onions are just starting to get caramelized. This is kind of just what I want here. Just a little bit of color. You know, I don't want them to be completely dark. I just want them to look a little caramelized, which as you can see, they're slightly toasty. It's smelling incredible. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm actually gonna push the onions to the side here of the pan. And I'm gonna add in the tomato paste. This is around 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. And the reason why I'm adding this before I add the garlic is I want this to bloom on the bottom of the pot to kind of caramelize slightly. If you cook your tomato paste, it really releases the flavor. A lot of people add the tomato paste and they don't let it caramelize. You're not really getting the full flavor that you can be getting out of this tomato paste, so we're gonna let this cook for a couple minutes. And the way that you'll know that this is done is you'll start to see it stick to the bottom of the pan ever so slightly, and that's how you'll know it's good to stir into your onions. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and stir this into the onions. You can really smell the caramelized smells of the onions. You can smell the caramelization of the tomato. It smells super roasty, kind of like you're making a Sunday sauce. Now we're gonna add in the garlic. This is 3 cloves of garlic. We're gonna give that a stir into the onions and the tomato paste. And after about 30 seconds, once you begin to smell that garlic, we're gonna add in our 3 tablespoons of sweet paprika. Now I know it looks like a lot, But the paprika is like one of the main ingredients to chicken paprikash. You gotta use a good quality sweet paprika, use quite a bit of it. I find that 3 tablespoons is the perfect amount. Now we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of flour. This is just all-purpose flour, and we're gonna stir that into the onions and let that cook for about a minute or so. Now at this point, we're gonna start to slowly add in the chicken stock, just a little bit at a time, so that we don't create lumps in our gravy here. And we can always adjust it. If I need more chicken stock, I'm just gonna add a little bit more. So I'm actually gonna add a little bit more stock. Originally I said 2 cups of stock, this is gonna be about 2.5 cups. The reason why I'm adding a little bit more stock is I want the chicken to be about halfway submerged so that the skin pokes out of the sauce or the gravy so it can try to remain crispy. It's never gonna be all the way crispy because it's gonna steam a little bit, but at least you can try to avoid it from being like super rubbery. So now we're gonna add back in our chicken, and I'm not gonna season this yet because there's a little bit of salt and pepper on the chicken. There's some salt and pepper from those onions and stuff when we seasoned them. We can always season it at the end. Okay, so now we're gonna bring this to a gentle simmer. We're gonna cover it with a lid. We gotta let this cook for probably around 30 to 40 minutes or until our chicken is cooked all the way through, somewhere around 165 to 175 degrees Fahrenheit internally. The reason why I want the internal temperature of the chicken to be a little bit higher is because with the chicken quarters or chicken thighs, I kind of like it to be at about 175. If you cook it to 155 or 160 like you do a breast, it's just not the right texture. So the chicken thighs can handle a little bit of a higher internal temperature. So we're gonna let this cook, and I'll be back with you in about 30 minutes to check on them. So now our chicken's been simmering for exactly 30 minutes. You wanna check it with one of these probe thermometers. You just wanna poke it right in between the drumstick and the thigh. I'm getting a reading here of about 176. Now, FDA recommends 165. Like I said before, I like to take them to at least 175. It's a better texture. So our chicken is done now. We're gonna go ahead and remove them. Place them on this baking sheet that I did wash, by the way. Make sure you wash the baking sheet. Don't put it on there with the raw chicken. We're gonna let these hang out over here. So now I got the heat on medium-low still, and as you see, we have this beautiful, luxurious sauce, gravy, whatever you wanna call it. Now we're gonna add our 3/4 cup of sour cream. And we're gonna start to work this in until that sour cream is completely melted into our sauce. And as you can see here, I didn't season it yet. Once this is melted, we're gonna season this up, but we gotta taste it first. All right, let's see how this is tasting. It's nice and rich, nice and creamy. Definitely needs salt. Doesn't need a lot of salt, it tastes pretty good. We're gonna add the pepper as well. Go ahead and give that salt a stir into our gravy here. And then we're gonna taste it again. That's delicious right there. We're gonna add our dumplings in. These are already pre-cooked. They just have to be heated through. You don't have to boil them or nothing like that. We're just gonna add it right to our sauce. Only gonna take probably around a minute or 2, maybe 3 minutes at the most. We're gonna finish this with a little bit of parsley. Like I said, I really like the flavor of the parsley mixed in with the paprika. I think it's wonderful. It's also gonna add a little bit of color. Go ahead and give us one final stir, and let's go ahead and serve this up. Now the way we're gonna serve this is by adding one of our chicken quarters right here to the bowl. And sometimes people will add the dumplings plain and then just keep it kind of like a curry, so you have like, you know, the rice is off to the side. For this I had to reheat the dumplings inside of the gravy, but you can also boil them for a couple minutes. I kind of like to just do it like this. So we're just gonna serve these dumplings right on the side, just like that. Maybe a little bit of our gravy over top of our chicken. Pretty simple. Then we're just gonna garnish with a little bit of parsley. Add some color. And there it is, guys. That's our chicken paprikash. Let's go ahead and give it a try. Guys, this is rich. It's creamy. It's absolutely delicious. A couple things I want to point out here. I think the gravy element of this is perfect. 10 out of 10. Dumplings are excellent. It's got a nice balance of flavor. It's very rich. The chicken, very tender, good. But as you can see, the skin on the chicken's a little rubbery because you're never going to get that skin to stay crispy. While this might be traditional to use bone-in chicken, I think you might have a better eating experience if you use like a boneless chicken thigh or a chicken breast, just making sure you don't overcook it. So I would probably alter this and make it a little less traditional and just use a boneless chicken. But overall, guys, I mean, this is absolutely incredible. I made this, you know, about 15 years ago. I made it a couple years ago for a client. My brother actually asked for this recipe. He's like, why don't you make chicken paprikash again? That was good. Definitely give it a try. If you enjoyed this video or you learned something, give me a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.